to just film this part with my phone because it might work a little better than my GoPro. But anyway, we have been driving for quite a while today. We just left Applecross camping this morning, and we're just going along the coastal drive. And at the moment, we're sitting on the ocean. It's like a little inlet with some beautiful mountains. Gorgeous view right now, so we decided to stop over on the side of the road, and I'm gonna paint and Wolfie's gonna hang out with me, so I'm gonna record a little bit for you guys. Also sorry if these intro videos are awkward because I usually don't know where to look. But yeah, anyway, let's paint. All right, so we're here. Time to do some painting. I have paint left over on my palette from yesterday, and the only thing I'm going to be adding is some more impasto, Liquin Impasto. And I'm going to be working again with my brushes and palette knife, a little bit loose. Get some nice thick brush strokes and thick palette knife applications going on. When I'm working on with the Pochade box on my lap like this, I definitely don't end up using my brush holder, so I'm kind of just like shuffling brushes around. But it's okay. All right, so I showed you guys with my other camera the view that I'm painting, and it's a gorgeous little beach and rocky coastline with mountains in the distance, and bright clouds, bright blue sky. There's some dark clouds too, little patches of sunlight hitting the horizon. So yeah, let's have fun with it. Let's see. To start off, I'm gonna use my bigger brush and lay in some color. My paint from yesterday is still pretty wet, so I can use that. Gonna lay in some of that sky tone. Did you get some snacks?
I did.
Nice.
This one?
I'm good.
Okay.
Some of these, it's kind of like the mid-tone of the sky, and then I'm going to come back in with a little blue, some cerulean, which is a little warmer, which I love for sky, and lay in some of the patches of blue that I see peeking through, which aren't too many. Just indicating that there some big fluffy clouds moving around. And I'm gonna do my palette knife, or my mountains with my palette knife. So a few big thick brush strokes for the clouds here and there. I think it's interesting to combine the thick impasto style painting, using that like physical depth to create interesting textures in the painting. You have depth when you use shadow and light and color properly, but then you also get that physical depth with the impasto, and I just think that's really fun to play around with. Okay. So use my palette knife and lay in some. Where did I put my palette knife? Oh, it kind of like rolled down underneath me. Play with the mountain tones. I'm gonna use lots of blues and purples in those mountains. But it is still pretty thick. This one, we might as well just have lots of fun with color. So maybe use a little more vibrancy. I'm just muting my purple a tiny bit with some burnt umber. And these particular mountains do not have snowy peaks, so I can either decide to add that if I want, or leave it. Actually, this one does have a tiny bit on that left side, so maybe I'll just lightly sweep my canvas with the palette knife and let some of the tones show through underneath, and that'll indicate like a little bit of a snowy patch on there. Oh yeah, well, the mountains on the right side that I'm painting, or that won't really make it into the painting, are covered in snow, but I'm talking more about these foreground mountains. I don't know if you guys can see that much with the GoPro. Yeah, I like having some of the canvas show through. It really adds to that texture and that depth with the impasto. Did you hear that? It sounded like a whale jumped or something. I know it's not a whale. How cool would that be, though, to see something like that here? We might be seeing some seals. You never know. They're out there. And then the mountains in the foreground are a little more grayish brown, so I'm going to add a little of that to the mix. But I'm keeping it a little muted by adding some white and also probably a tiny bit of purple and a tiny bit of black, kind of gray tone. If we stop at the waterfall to paint, I'm gonna have to refill some of my colors. Getting a little low on some of them, like my white. I think I'm gonna add a tiny amount of the Naples Yellow to give it a little more, make it a little more subdued. And then play with, okay, I'm going to take my glove off because we're working pretty thick. So I have some burnt sienna and the mixture of like grayish purple I just made on my palette knife, and I'm going to sweep it across, and it's going to kind of mix as I go. And leave some of that like raw brown showing through, just to add to the variation in the landscape. Near the shoreline it gets a little yellow, like tan yellow, because the sun is hitting it, so over on this side it's a little more blue actually, so I'm gonna mix in some of that too. The side on the right is gonna be sort of covered by the golden tones in the foreground, so I don't have to take this down too far. Thick textures, love it. Okay, now I'm going to come in with some Naples Yellow. And drag that across. There's a few areas on the mountain back there where the sun is it's creating like spotty patches of sunlight. But I don't want that to be too bright because then it'll take away from the foreground. And okay, that's going to be covered. So the golden tone one is going to come down like this and wrap around. So yeah, now I just need to make sure my horizon line is straight, which is always a fun challenge. I'm going to be doing a little more of a turquoise tone in the water, so I don't have to make this too perfect because I'll be kind of coming on top of it with my my water. So, but that helps my eye see the straight line. Okay. So the water is actually really vibrant, and it shifts near those mountains from like a light cerulean or Prussian blue down to more of a indigo, and then right near the beach there are patches of this brilliant turquoise. It's like, oh, it's gorgeous. So from here we're going to start with more of a cerulean, or actually leave some of this showing through, and then I'm going to shift it down into more of an indigo, and then down here I'm going to sweep in some big pieces of the green turquoise that you can see with the sun coming through. So that'll be fun. But keeping it really thick still. Got my impasto medium mixed in. Okay, glove coming off. And I need to actually, because I'm terrible at straight lines, I need to physically take this out and hold it in order to draw a straight line. Which is not ideal with oil painting, but in order to sweep this across properly, this has to happen. You might actually be able to see some of the texture when I hold it this way though, which is kind of cool. You can definitely see some of the impasto. All right, now I'm going to start mixing in some of my indigo. I'm going to keep it a little bit lighter up there. But I'm letting it sweep across the canvas very loosely. Kind of actually mixing it on the canvas. So I'm dragging my tones across the canvas, and as I do that, it's mixing slowly and also creating like a sense of waves, moving waves, which is really fun. All right, I'm going to start adding in a little bit of green to create my turquoise. I don't need much, that's for sure, to create that sense of shifting values in the water. But I want it to be more green as it gets closer to me. I even added in a little bit of Naples Yellow to kind of brighten it up, to make it look like the sun is hitting it a little. And need to drag it. The beach is kind of coming like this, so I need to make sure I fill in enough of the water. Some more of the indigo on the left side. But I'm letting a lot of the canvas show through because I love that color, and I'm okay with thin oil paint. Like, I'm okay with using thin applications in some areas. I think it adds some nice variety to the paintings to do that once in a while. So yeah, there's like a little piece of something there. All right, and so I'm gonna start laying in that warm tone we see on the right side, as well as the shoreline. So it's kind of a mixture of the burnt umber, raw sienna, raw umber, and I'm leaving, I have lots of paint on my palette knife, and I'm just kind of slowly sweeping it across and letting it deposit in sort of random areas to indicate the rocky beach. So my cliffs are like darker, and then I'm going to come back up with some, I'm going to brighten that with my Naples Yellow. I'm still working very, very thickly. Sweeping it over the cliffside. Now the question is, do I want to add those houses? There's some houses dotting the landscape, but I think the scale would honestly make it very difficult to tell what they are, and it might just be confusing. So I think I will probably leave them out. But yeah, this one's going to be done soon. Just keeping it very loose. I know I say that a lot, but it's a good descriptor because I'm not being too precious with it, and I'm really allowing the paint to do its thing and sing. The beautiful thing about oil is that it's just an incredibly tactile medium, and I love the way it blends so smoothly in areas, and then other areas you can keep it nice and thick and expressive. All right, so yeah, I think we're gonna call this one. I'll give you guys a close-up once I get home and I can take time to make take a better photo and show you the texture and the colors and such. If I move out of the way and you see it in the sunlight, it's probably still hard to see on the GoPro, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this session with me. We might have time to do one more on the way home at a waterfall that we have been to before but wanted to go back to and stay a little longer, so we'll see how the weather holds out. All right, I'll see you guys later. So overall, I had so much fun with this painting because I love coastal colors. I took liberty in making it a lot more vibrant than what I saw in real life. I definitely thought I could improve the composition and some other elements in it, but I was only there for about 20 minutes, so I wanted to make sure I got like all the important aspects in. I think I'm actually going to turn this into a larger oil painting later on, so this will be a really good reference in helping me remember the colors and the textures. So if you enjoyed this, please make sure to subscribe so you see notifications of future videos, and leave me a comment and let me know what you thought. If you'd rather see things more sped up versus real-time painting, let me know, because I'd really like to make this channel work for what you guys are interested in. My next video will be the third and final plein air painting I'm going to share with you from this trip, and we ended up going to that waterfall, so I'm really excited to share that one with you. Alright, so until next time, stay inspired and keep painting.